Welcome to JGod Gaming. In today's video, I'm going to be focusing on a spawn guide for the new map, Occupation, in the Call of Duty World War II. This is part of the first DLC 1 Resistance pack. So what we'll do is break down some of the different spawns. So the ones I'm going to go over are Team Deathmatch, Domination, Hardpoint, and Capture the Flag. The reason I'm going to be going over these specific ones is because there's another mode that mirrors one of these, or else I would have just gone through and done all the modes. So for Team Deathmatch, obviously Kill Confirm. For Gridiron, you got Capture the Flag. So it's kind of a balance there. Dominations is his own thing, as well as Hardpoint. So let's go ahead and get into it. So in the background, what I'm going to be talking about is a little bit of, playing the actual map. So for this one, I chose TDM to start off with. And as you can see, the spawns in the top right corner in red are where the enemy team and yourself will spawn. So based off where you're spawning, where you're positioned, where your teammates are spawning, where your teammates are positioned, you can have a good idea and predict where the enemy team is going to be. Obviously, certain spawns are a little bit more sticky and have a majority chance to spawn. So right here you can see they're still coming out of that corner, still on a little bit of respawn delay it looks like, and then you can see them on my mini map. There's 3 little blips that pop up, so they still all spawned in this corner. Just a heads up, if you're interested in a particular mode and maybe you don't play Team Deathmatch at all, you want to check out one of the other modes, I'm going to leave timestamps down in the description below, as well as the images, so you can click on those, save those to your phone, desktop, whatever you want to do, so that you have access to those. So go ahead and check that out in the description below if you're interested in skipping ahead, or you just want to go ahead and check those out. As far as for this map goes, obviously it's a remake of a map we've experienced before, and it does look and play a little bit different. But the familiarity did help me when I was playing online, just because I was able to play it as if I knew it, because I had a familiarity with it. So you can see right there, they all spawned in that little corner on the bottom right of the map. So the spawns, this is how they work. You can cut off a lot of different people. You can predict where people are going to be, especially for some of the other modes, as you'll see pretty shortly, that when you actually play, you can actually cut people off from actually coming to the objective at all. If you just position 2-3 people in the right spot, you can actually do some pretty good work in cutting people off and almost guarantee a victory. Especially on some of the hard points, it does cut you off a little bit. So right now I'm just kind of maneuvering through the map. I know where they're at, I know where they're spawning from. They don't move too fast because they're bots, but at the end of the day, real people online, they will be coming out of these areas as well. The reason I do with bots, in case you're wondering what the heck is this guy doing playing against bots, it's more for a proof of concept that what you're looking at on screen matches the spawns, and then also to show you that what I'm actually putting out is something that I've tested, I put together, and I was able to identify these areas as spawn locations. So when you move around the map, it's something you got to keep in mind. Obviously the interior of the map, they can approach you from any angle, but if you're coming out around the outskirts, you can have a better idea of where they're going to be spawning from, and then have an idea of when the spawns have flipped. Also, if you're in their spawn, if they're going to be spawning on sides of you or behind you or wherever the case is, because sometimes the spawns are a little sticky and they don't always flip. So just keep that in mind as you navigate through the map, that you should be able to have a good idea of where all these people are. I usually like to do this when new maps come out or when the new game comes out. I'll go into the private matches or custom game, set it up with bots, so I can get a familiarity of where movement patterns are, the spawns, where I spawn, how to push certain angles, and just doing that overall gives you a comfort with the map that maybe you didn't have just by jumping in and getting maybe smacked around by someone who's already played it 10, 50, or even 100 times. So a lot of times familiarity with the maps is huge. Where to move through, where to navigate through is huge, especially in objective game mode. So as you can see, I'm coming up this stairs area here, and they're all popping up in this corner. You can see where my red is popping up on the mini map. So take this guy out, and they continue to flood out of this corner, just because that's kind of the way it's designed. Now that you see them in that other corner, where the other hotspot is for the red zone. So pretty much as long as you can move from hot point to hot point as far as red zone to red zone, you should have a good idea of where everyone is on the map, especially if you coordinate that with where your team is. So we'll go ahead and move on to Domination now. While that's loading up, now's a good time to point out that it's a good time, if you're enjoying the video, go ahead and click that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you ring that bell so you have the notifications on and you're up to date with the newest content that I'm putting out. Again, the like goal is 75, so hopefully you can help me out with that if you're enjoying the video. So let's get down to what the map looks like. So as you can see, the map is slightly different. You can see where zone A, B, and C are, and some of the spawns have shifted just a little bit. We're missing some of those left spawns that we had originally in Team Deathmatch. So for this one, it's very similar the way you move around the map, but obviously I'm playing solo with some bots again still. So what you want to do is make sure that you have a good idea of where the spawns are, which these ones, like I said, it doesn't move too much, but it's got a hard time holding down the area if the team doesn't actually pursue the different areas. The main objective you want to hold down here is B, just because you got a good sight line from B into the spawning areas that you can actually hold it down either off of this little crate here, or your teammate could be a little bit further up without pushing the spawns and catch people coming out of that spawn to protect B. As long as you have A and C, or A and B, or C and B, a combination of the two, you should be able to win this objective pretty good, because if you do the A and C, then the enemy team will actually pop out by the bottom right corner where B is. So you can go ahead and control the spawns if your team is coordinated enough to go ahead and lock down certain areas. So pretty much that's all I'm doing, is I'm rotating back and forth because they lost A, so I'm just kind of coming back to it, clearing off the areas. It's a little bit slower in Dom because I don't have that recon plane up constantly. But as you'll see, they're pretty predictable spawns. They're all coming from that top area. The enemy team's trying to take over B, so I'm just rotating back because none of the team is on this side. But normal match, you probably have at least one person on your team contesting B almost all the time, just because it's right here out in the open, getting kills and kind of feeding on this side of the map. So every time I'm getting that recon plane, I'm continually looking at the overview of the minimap, just because it shows a lot of information. As you can see right here, I try to run through mid coming from off of spawn, and right now I'm pretty much right on the outside of their spawn, so I know they're going to come out either through this area where I'm pushing, or to the left of me down this little street area. So pretty much I'm just kind of holding down the areas because I don't want the spawns to flip. Usually when you're playing Domination, you don't really want the spawns to flip. You want to usually hold two of the objectives and then keep all your enemy team just pinned inside a specific spawn, because if they're only coming out of a specific spawn, your enemy team becomes very predictable and you have a good control of the map. So that's just a general tip for Domination. But as you see, this one, the spawns kind of flipped a little bit, or we lost control continually because the computer teammates just kept losing A or losing C. So it kind of rotated back and forth and pretty much just continually played the match. So right here I'm going back, trying to go ahead and go flank to get B, because it looks like all the enemy is facing that side. So you go ahead and take them out. If someone sits inside that room right down this lane, they can actually have that perfect vantage point, probably for a sniper. As soon as someone peeks, take them out. So this is a huge lane that you could probably use for sniping, or a really good automatic rifle, or just rifle in general if you feel comfortable with the semi-autos. Or my favorite LMG, the Lewis light machine gun, which is pretty awesome at that vantage point as well. So you can see how the spawns can be used effectively to manage where your enemies are coming from, control, manipulate, have the map control. So it's just about positioning. Again, it's always positioning on all the different maps. So right here, I know they're going to go ahead and try and flip the spawn, so I'm going to push it anyways, just because my teammates are losing A over there by themselves. So I go ahead and push to take over C. I know where they're going to be coming from. They're probably going to be coming from this right side or the left, so I just got to pay attention since I don't have that recon up right away. So I just got to kind of watch and wait, and it looks like I was able to take it over. Looks like some of the enemy team is over there by B, so I'm going to kind of push B in that direction. So pretty much you got to do what the map's telling you. Every map's slightly different because who you're playing with. Sometimes they're slower players, sometimes they're campier, sometimes they're fast-paced players, sometimes they're using shotgun, sniper, sometimes they're just running like a chicken with their head cut off. Sometimes your teammates are going for kills, sometimes your enemies are going for kills. They don't want the objective at all. So just keep that in mind, that not everything is super cookie cutter, but this does give you a good idea of where enemies are, where you're at, where you should be going, what space you need to be positioned. Right now we're triple capped, so the spawns are probably going to be a little bit funky, but as you can see, I got a good idea where they're coming from. I know they're all coming from this corner building. I just got to kind of wait it out, get a better position than the enemy team. And that's usually the name of the game, patience and positioning, especially on boots on the ground. You can't just out reflex your enemy. So you do have to put yourself in the best position, or you can get really swept really quick, especially if you end up 2v1. A lot of times you're going to lose that gunfight unless you are able to flank them, catch one off guard. So just keep that in mind. You got to navigate the map smartly and execute effectively. For Dom, I only want to demonstrate one round just to show kind of how that works. Again, proof of concept with the bots. Just demonstrate that the spawn guide is accurate and effective for what you're looking to accomplish if you're watching this video. I know I'm repeating myself a little bit, but this is for the people that maybe skipped ahead to the hard point. Go ahead and remember to drop that like. Again, the goal is 75 likes. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and make sure you click that subscribe button. Turn on that bell, have the notifications on, so you stay up to date on future videos and future content. So when it comes to Hardpoint, the spawns are usually pretty different than the rest of all the spawns in the different modes, just because the Hardpoint rotates, and because of that, there has to be different spawn points to accommodate two teams having an equal distance to travel to get to that Hardpoint. So for the most part, it's usually pretty equal. In some cases, there's usually an advantage where you're going to have to walk a little bit farther than your enemy team. So let's go ahead and check those out. So when looking at the Hardpoint map, you can see that I have both the rotations and the spawns on there. The spawns are a little bit different than the past two maps that we looked at as far as Domination and Team Deathmatch. But that's just because of the way the hill rotates. So you can see it starts in mid, bumps down to the bottom of the map, then goes back up to the top. And then it goes kind of 4 and then 5, where you can see that it's towards the middle and then towards the right. The key with holding down 4 is actually making sure you got bottom spawns, because after that hill, it's going to rotate to 5. And look at how far the spawns are from 5. Pretty much you're kind of screwed if you're spawning there. Same thing with 3. If you get the spawns, you need the spawns for Hardpoint 3, because look at how far you got to walk if you don't get Hardpoint 3. Look at the spawns. Look at, they're all the way going to be to the right, or they're all the way at the bottom. Look at the distance you have to travel. So this one's very spawn dependent. Same thing with 2. Look at where your enemies are going to come from. They're going to come from over by Hardpoint 5. That's a little bit of a walk, but look at if they come all the way by Hardpoint 3. Gets kind of crazy, so just something to keep in mind. The spawns are key in Hardpoint, and especially on this map. So you can see in the background, this first hill is already done with, so I'm trying to rotate to the second hill just so that we can make sure we get those spawns. I have a feeling that the enemy team's going to be in this area, so as I approach, I have a good idea where they're coming from. They're probably not coming from the stairs behind me, but then again they are when that UAV comes out, the recon plane. So I turn on that guy, take them both out. Now my teammates are in position, and you can see now, look at how far they're walking from, like what I said. They're spawning at 5 and they're spawning by 3. So that's what's so key, is that you're going to put your team at a huge disadvantage if you're not getting these spawns early. Because most of the people that play Hardpoint have no clue what rotating early means. They're going to fight for a 5-second hill. Never fight for a 5-second hill unless it's for the win. So keep in mind that when you're rotating, that you need to rotate early. As long as someone is in the hill, there should be at least one person in the hill. Leave that as garbage time. Give that to them. Get your team in better position so that they can actually take over the next Hardpoint. So you can see here, now I'm trying to rotate across the map. A little bit away, cut these people off. So I'm going to push this way. I know they're going to be spawning in this corner, so they already have this hill advantage. They should be jumping in there pretty soon. So as I come around here, you can see the little red dots are popping up a little bit closer to me than they were on the other side of the map. So I just get repositioned, take a couple of guys out, and then secure the hill. After I'm in here for a little bit, take out different enemies, then the hill decides to flip as far as spawns, so that now my team has control of the spawns. As long as they move a little bit further down here, we'll get those spawns, and then we'll actually have the entire hill time. So as I go ahead and take a look at that overview, since I got the recon out, you can see where they're coming from. They're all coming from the opposite side of the map where those spawns are on the bottom. So they got a long walk, and they don't even got a good vantage point when they come out. They're pretty much there for the picking. As you can see, I picked one off, picked the other one off, and they're still coming from that side down the stairs. It's a longer route to go around the other side, but you know, it is what it is. You got to come out wherever the best cover is, but right here you can see that it's not good. So they're already going to have the next hill. So we're going to start rotating, and I'm pushing through mid because I want to get that hill. I got to go through here to get there. So you can see that they're all set up over here on this hill because none of our team rotated. Obviously, I'm playing with bots. They don't know any better. But all the enemy team, they definitely shut down that hard point pretty quick. So we go ahead and clear it out. And then keep in mind, again, that when I said when you get this hill, you need to make sure you get the spawns on the bottom of the map. So right now, it looks like we have those spawns. As long as our team doesn't push forward, we should maintain those. But it looks like that guy in the red might. Nope, he's actually still moving towards his own spawn. So now we kind of got him locked in this way. As the hardpoint rotates to the 5th and final rotation, as far as time rotation goes, you're going to see that we're going to have those immediately. We're going to have it locked down. and they're still going to be spawning pretty far. So we'll just wait out this 9 seconds, go ahead and move over to the next hill because I want to make sure I guarantee myself these spawns. So I go ahead and sit up in here, and that's pretty much ends up being the match. We camp out this one. There's only one more hard point to go to number 1, and then we have enough time to close out because 55 seconds takes up to about 225, and that's kind of where it sits. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I would appreciate that like rating. If you did appreciate it, you're still here. Sorry for a little bit of the length. I just thought this was probably the better way to cover it. I didn't really like the first way I did it when I did the other ones. One thing I will throw up on screen in case you are interested is the capture the flag spawns. And just a heads up with capture the flag spawns, like always, they're pretty rigid. You can see there's a lot of places to spawn, so I don't think this one's a really high potential spawn trap unless it's a super coordinated team. But you can see where they're at on the screen, which they will be down in the description again as well. So if you'd like a copy of any of these or links to the timestamps in case you want to reference these again, make sure you check down in the description below. Drop that like rating. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the bell. Make sure you got the notifications on. Stay up to date. Follow me on Twitter. That's probably the best way to keep in contact with me. Sometimes YouTube's a little funky with their comments. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a great day.